now we put stalking and harvesting whitetail on top of this.
Yeah.
I mean, now that's the...
This makes for a good story.
Holy smokes. I mean, that's always been very, very intriguing to me. And you said you shoot, what, a 270?
270.
Have you read any of Jack O'Connor? Made the two.
Yeah.
Right. He was a 270 man, Jack O'Connor.
Aficionado. He really put that on the map.
I've got a 30-06 that I'll hunt with. I'm not totally like beholding to the 270. Some people are like adamant. I've had people tell me that, like, yeah, you'd be better off if you would have bought your 270 and a 30-06. And I'm like, look, at 100 yards, it's going to get the job done.
Unbelievable how much some people invest in all the emotions and whatnot, pride into certain things. But at the end of the day,
308, 30-06,
the
260.
150 versus 130 grain debate for the 270 Winchester has brought rooms to complete brawls before.
What's the debate between the two? How does
you got the 130 group, and I believe that was Jack O'Connor's preferred, was your flatter, longer,
it would
just
be.
for your
Lighter
predictability
bullet.
and your longer shots, and your 150. A lot of the aficionados like that because they said essentially you got all the killing power of a 7mm mag. Because a 7mm mag is vaguely a 140 grain, 32 to 3300, depending on.
And I have read, going back to the 7mm mag, that basically, because they usually come pretty long barrels, right?
Yeah.
And if you shorten up that barrel to say like my 270, you're basically hunting with the same thing.
Yeah, you got a 22-inch barrel on your
gun,
I think.
And I think they're a couple inches longer, aren't they? The barrels on.
Typically, yes. Your magnums, anything with over 50 grains of powder, they should. I mean, otherwise,
to get complete powder burn.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Avoid your diminishing returns. Yep. It's pretty weird.
And I'd read somewhere, it was a while ago, that people get on about this, how great the 7mm mag is. And because I've had people say it to me, you should use a 7mm mag. And I'm like, but then I'm walking through the woods with a 26-inch barrel.
Yeah, it's not right. It's not the right gun for your type of hunting.
And if I were to cut it down, I'm basically hunting with a 270.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then again, that core debate where they, essentially you're splitting hairs. Right. I mean, honestly, when it comes to
shot placement, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's my 260. I'm the first to admit that's for what it is. Kinetic energy under 300 yards, less than a 308, and slightly more after that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've harvested now 3 adult moose with that.
Yeah.
One being a large bull. A dozen whitetail, a couple black bear. My wife's taken a handful of whitetail. All of it has been. With the shot placement. Shot placement is absolutely
it's what you're comfortable with.
And within your ranges. I mean, I wouldn't that buck this year, knowing what I know now, again, every year is about learning and growing.
Yeah.
I would probably say that was a little bit out of the horsepower range of the 260 for me. I know the global or the American standard, as they say, try to keep above 1,000 foot-pounds of kinetic energy to effectively harvest deer. Well, that math applied, my 260 is 770 yards before it drops below that 1,000 foot yard. However, applying if I don't ever want to get into a circumstance like I did this year where that wasn't quite enough juice. So if I'm hunting, lessons learned, just something, or limit my range underneath of that. For me, it's very unique for everybody in the realm.
You still get it done.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah.
You didn't go anywhere.
Yeah. Unbelievable. What this between the Paul, you reaching out, it's been unbelievable how nice everybody's. Like I said, I'm very, very kind of humble about these things. Try to just keep to myself. I'm a bit of a hermit, and the unbelievable amount of kindness from everybody.
Well, it's funny when Keith was showing me pictures of it and said 261. I remember we were sitting here talking about it, and in my head, I kept thinking to myself, that's probably going to be top 10, 261. I'm like, there's a good chance. Whether it's number one or not, but I'm thinking, I can remember sitting here thinking, that's probably going to be top 10 in the state. But it was pretty tight. Yeah. Wasn't it down below?
Yeah, geez, there were 257.
Yeah,
I think
257 was the next one. So it's funny.
Awesome.
Did you leave the nuts on it?
Well,
that's another pound right there.
So it was kind of funny when I saw the magazine. I lived for that particular issue, the February issue of Maine Sportsman every year. And like you say, it's hard to find now up here. And when I saw it downstate on a rack, I turned right around, went back to I'd already cashed out at the store. I turned around, took the magazine back up and paid for it. And I never even thought of you, Robbie. And I never even thought, oh, Robbie got it. That never crossed my mind.
I would have. I was.
You
was
did.
like,
I
was betting. I'm like, that's got to be top 10.
Yeah.
Because you see a lot.
I had long forgotten it though.
But I always feel like most years there's one or two that are like 270, maybe 280.
I always think of the food plots and there's a lot of people who invest a lot of time and money into really ensuring, that they have a nice deer every year. So I just always keep those in mind. The 2016, I remember the beginning of that year at Ben's Trading Post buying some smokeless powder, and the owner was trying to convince me to put into they had a
big bucks contest.
Yes. Yes, to put into it. And I even had some choice remarks. I said, I shoot the first thing that comes out. I'm not the guy you want for that. Had I put in for that, it would have been like a $2,000. I mean, it was
no way
for shooting a deer. It was a ludicrous sum of money. Had I,
no kidding.
Well, oftentimes you don't, and I've been in a few of those back in the day at Royce, and you don't put in thinking you're going to be the one, because there's just the variables, the randomness and stuff is probably not going to play in your favor, but you do it just to do it, and just to participate and who knows and stuff. And so,
and Rob, you make a good point though, Rob. I mean, I'm definitely not the one that's like, I always got to try to shoot a big buck. There's a lot of years, it's kind of circumstantial. It's like how much time, like this year I had a lot of time.
Absolutely.
To put into it. But most years I don't have much time. And then, it depends on, there's a lot of things that for me, like, have I been successful the past couple of years? That kind of plays into my demeanor. How's the deer pop? Am I seeing deer? Am I into deer?
Right.
If I feel confident that I'm seeing a lot of bucks, and maybe I'll hold off. But there was one year when I was younger, there was a spike horn that I shot, my first spike horn. I remember being disappointed. And I said I would never shoot another spike horn. And then, but it never say never, right?
Yep.
Because as I get older, it was the last day of the season. I was out tracking a buck, and I can hear deer walking towards me. And I just kind of tucked in behind a fir tree. It was like a 6-8 foot tall fir tree, kind of sparse little tree. And I get right into it, and I hear the deer coming, and he walks around the corner. I'm like, oh, it's a little spike horn. Well, Lydia was at 3 years old at the time or so. Yeah. And so I pull up, and I'm like, well, let's see how close he gets to me. And he was almost from me to you away. And then the whole time I'm watching him, I'm going, boys, my little girl would be tickled pink. And I love deer meat.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no longer did I think of Lydia sitting on that deer, and that was all she wrote.
Yep. And that was a good choice.
I was satisfied.
Some years he'll pass them.
I was
like
totally
this year
happy.
and the other couple of years ago, you passed one last day, the one you ran into the lake.
That was the day I tracked a buck all day. Yeah. That was the one that jumped into the lake. Yeah. I'd put so much effort into it, and I was down in a crap hole. And finally, Dad was on me. He's like, why didn't you shoot that buck? So I was trying to sort out where that bigger buck went. Some deer come around the corner. There's a spike horn standing there. And he jumps out into the middle of this opening and stands broadside and looks back at me about 75 yards away. Yeah. Just poses. Yeah. And I'm on video going, I'm not shooting that. Not today. I've gone too far, too hard. And I'm looking around, and it's like 3 o'clock. And it looks like a tornado had gone through the area. There's just blowdowns everywhere. So Dad was like, oh, you should have shot that deer. Last day of the season, we were down in there deer hunting. He's like, probably a good thing you didn't shoot that deer down here.
Yeah.
He's like, that was a mess.
Yeah. But no, it's purely circumstantial. That really seems to be what you get out of the whole experience too anyways. And that's really.
So guys that will ride people for shooting small deer, it's like, man, it's everyone's
that's not what it's about whatsoever. Yeah. Like, again, it's circumstantial. Like for my circumstance, learning about the caveats of long range shooting, I took something from that. But again, had that been some other time in the year, I think that was like the 6th or 7th of the season. So I mean, again, you grow and you learn and you get older. That at that point, what did I take from that experience? Well, don't observe and perceive what you're shooting at before.
Yep. So I'll never say I'll never shoot another spike horn.
Yeah, I certainly won't say that.
No, we know
my
you
stage. We'll say.
Seeing how my wife and kids I've taken to hunting, I most certainly will. I see a lot of spike horns or whatever.
You must eat a lot of deer meat.
Yes.
Yeah.
The past 2 years, this has kind of been stunning. Is that we've harvested 5, and both years by June,
gone.
They're gone.
Yeah,
they're
same
gone.
here.
It really kind of makes you harken back to like sustainability and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
The difference between a moose and a deer. I mean, you really have a hard time keeping a community well fed on deer. I mean, you can a family can smoke through one of those pretty quickly, but a moose that tends
You're right.
to,
When you start looking at using burger for different dishes and then steaks and it's like, and it's our favorite type of red meat.
Yep.
So usually some of my friends don't like deer meat. They like to hunt, don't like deer meat. But hey, it's fine. You shoot the deer, I'll take it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Give it to me.
Yeah. Some guys get frustrated with those kind of hunters. To me, they're just some of my closest friends. Just
Hey,
we'll
have a good relationship.
Yeah,
You
I'll
shoot
take
all the
that
deer
off-
you want.
I'll take it off your hands.
Give them right to me. There's nothing better. Nothing better. And this year we got a moose.
Yeah.
Freezer full of moose meat too.
Yeah, we got.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I got a moose this year, Robbie, in the September.
Good for you.
yeah.
You
well,
haven't seen
decent-
the video, Rob?
Decent
I'm still
size.
getting caught up. I'm still getting caught up.
843 pounds, and
How big did you say, Mark?
843. Yeah, it was a good bull.
Got a very nice bull.
Oh yeah, it was a hard hunt.
15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Yeah, we were driving into the place we wanted to hunt, and it was standing in the road, and so I get out, and Paul will tell you, I usually, if an opportunity presents itself, I'm usually there.
Rob, he
to
doesn't
take
waste any
advantage.
time. I almost didn't get out of the truck because we're going into a spot to call. We're pulling in. I'm like, oh, I see a dark figure. Like there's a moose down there, kind of down around the corner. So then I'm like, I think I can see paddles, but not very big. I couldn't see very much. So I'm like, that's not a very big moose. We're 15 minutes into it. This isn't going to be a. So Dad gets out, and I see him walking down the road, and the moose had gone out into the cut. I'm like, then Dad's demeanor kind of changed. I'm like, I better get out of the truck. So I grab my camera, and I'm getting down the road, and pretty soon I hear him. He pulls up, and I hear him go, "That looks like a shooter." Bang, bang, bang.
That's big enough for me, Rob.
Thanks for the heads up there.
Yeah, that was big enough for me. So yeah.
And you were using your 30-06.
Actually, I didn't. I had just bought a we call it our Benoit guns, our Remington 7600 in 308. I had just bought it from a friend, and I thought I'll use that in the moose hunt.
Yep.
So I used a 308 for
And Rob, so he drops it. Actually, he hits it, runs out across, turns around and comes out of the cut, out onto the road. And he's firing at it, and you can see it going across the road. And then he drops it in the ditch. Just boom. So he turns around, and he's like, well, I'm going to go back to the truck. And I looked at him, and I was like, don't you think we ought to walk up? And
make sure it's down for good.
This was a mic drop moment.
Yeah.
So we get up there, and we hear it breathing. And it's kind of eyes are open, kind of looking. And we're just talking. We're thinking, it's just expiring. We turn around, and so you've got one bullet left in your gun.
I think I had one, Paul, because I shot three.
Truck's back there 100 yards or so.
And I only put the magazine in. I didn't put one in the chamber. I put the magazine in, so I would have had four shots.
We turn around, and we're talking. And I look, and I'm like, geez, the hind end was up off the ground. And doesn't he just get his front legs under him? Dad pulls up, fires, and this moose still makes it out onto the road. I'm like, shoot it again. He goes, I'm out of bullets. I'm going, oh my God.
I can relate, Mark. It's a terrible feeling.
I run up to the truck. Like the moose expired in the opposite ditch, but we were both looking at each other going, holy cow, this could have turned into from a 4-foot drag to a.
You were talking about
Lord
that
knows
earlier,
what.
Rob. You do not want to be chasing a deer or a moose down through the swamp, a wounded deer. I mean, especially a moose.
I want to say it was a window from 10 years ago till about 6 years ago with his last dog. My father had a blue Lacey that it was an incredible bloodhound dog, and he would have me go on these retrievals with him. I think he had a surgery on his back at the time or whatnot.
Okay.
Eye opener times. I learned more on those adventures with him about not so much like what not
Does
to
he
do,
still
but
do that, Rob?
I don't know. I know he has a different.
He's got a dog.
Yeah, he's got a dog now. I don't know though. I don't want to speak for him, but I know with that last one, some of the retrievals I went on, and weird stuff happens. Weird stuff, but nothing worse. Nothing worse.
To find deer? You're talking about her?
Yeah, specifically deer, moose. When
Really?
the adventures that some of these animals go on is absolutely breathtaking through some of the most unbelievable conditions, Parker brush, and it's
well, that's where we hunt. We chase those all around in that all day long.
And then we go. Then we say it was fun.
Yeah, and we come home, we're soaking wet, and we call it fun. Yeah, call it a vacation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
You either with people they either love it or they hate it.
yeah,
I brought some friends that had wanted to go.
yeah.
And they literally cussed me out at the end of the day. Like, you do this all week at deer camp.
Yeah.
Never would go again.
Yeah,
I'm like,
so we
really
dive right into that stuff first thing in the morning and stay there all day long. And yeah, that's
see that's unbelievable. That is so cool.
So when we're tracking a deer, whatever, whichever way the deer goes, we go. You can't worry about the wind. The wind is,
sometimes
the wind is what it is.
Sometimes you get the wind blowing right.
But if you're going to still hunt in an area, we try to keep the wind in our face and stuff, or if we're going in to watch a cut or whatever.
Noise control. When you're hot to trot on it, so that's something else too. Woods are noisy. Gears
they are. Everything
noisy.
makes
Slings
noise.
are noisy. Belts are noisy. Everything's noisy. What do you do, Paul? If you're right on one mark and you're jumping, you're hot to trot. Are you being as every footstep placing the ball of your foot down and being as quiet as possible, or are you at that point? He knows I'm here. He knows I'm coming after him.
Yeah, it depends, because there's like sometimes during the day where you're a long ways from the deer. So going slow, you're never going to make up any ground.
You just go.
And I think it's a personality thing too. And we've talked about this. I'm pretty aggressive. Like I go right along. And if there's something that, and sometimes it's weird. Sometimes you just get a premonition about things.
Well, instinct.
And you think you're
invest
close.
time into it.
Then you kind of slow things down. Like there was a time I shot a nice buck with a buddy of mine, and we were hoofing her right along, and the buck had come up to the edge of a cut, and I would have bet I don't have the greatest eyesight. I can pick things out good, but if I see something move or I see something that looks like a deer, my visual acuity isn't the greatest. But I've got wicked good hearing, and I was certain. I'm like, I heard an antler on a tree limb. So we literally took like 45 minutes to an hour to go up this skid trail, maybe 100 yards, maybe not even that, just slowly. And I can remember just getting to the edge of the skid trail and just getting where I could see into this little opening. And what I'd heard was, well, I see a tail go. And I'm like, oh, there's a deer. So I pull up and I couldn't see the front shoulder. I could see just from like his armpit back, but I had a doe permit, and we were on a nice deer track. It looked like a big body, so I shot it, and it was a nice buck. But as I get up there was a blowdown, and he was feeding through that blowdown, and what I had heard was his antler.
You did hear an antler,
and you can second guess yourself. Like I know Chris was with me, and he's like, I didn't hear anything, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, I went like super painstakingly slow and then shot the deer. But other times they hear you.
We've had deer that we've shot because they did hear us, didn't know what we were, and walked right up to us.
Yeah. That was Robbie right there.
So you believe that there's truth to that as well, as far as the curiosity?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. If you
100%.
If there's a lot of deer in the area and you sound like a deer walking, like
he didn't know what we were.
No.
That deer right there heard us.
Walked right down towards us.
Walked right towards us. He heard us. And so he just assumed we may be another deer, another buck in his territory. Might have been a doe somewhere around him, and he hears us and thinks we're another buck coming in. He walks right down towards us. That's happened a number of times. They hear you, but they don't know what you are. So they just come down to see.
Now there's the element of surprise that I like. Like oftentimes if I'm moving right along, even when they hear you, they haven't, that deer in the headlights look? They'll usually they hear you, but they haven't quite figured out if they want to run yet or stay. And there's like this moment of like
assessment.
They're trying to figure out what it is that's coming.
Yep.
And yes, I mean, sometimes I like that, but I think it varies from person to person and kind of what they're, how they like to hunt.
Yeah.
What skills.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. That's what would kill me is if I'm just a tiptoeing on a track, and in reality, this deer
you'll never catch him.
Putting miles. So do I want to hit the ground running and start hoofing it? And little do I know I'm spooking everything away in a 2 acre radius. And
sometimes, I mean, try to be as quiet as possible, but sometimes you mess up. Like I can remember we were tracking a buck and a doe. We jumped them up. They were on a dead run, and they literally were like running and then bedded down.
Yeah.
Almost like they just, from a bound, went into a bed. They gave no indication that they were going to. I remember coming to a bunch of beds, like, well, that was weird.
Yeah. I've done that a number of times.
They were running from us and then just, boom, bedded down.
Yeah.
Like,
so,
Speaking of big deer, Paul, you shot a giant when you were.
It was just that one right
that's
there.
one right.
Yeah.
So when you were
15, that was my first buck I ever shot.
I remember that.
And it wasn't a huge body. It was Thanksgiving week, so it was 210 pounds.
Yeah,
but it was 5th biggest rack in the state that year. And of course, being from Maine, you want to shoot a 200 pounder, right? That's kind of the
benchmark.
The benchmark.
Yeah.
It was the fifth biggest rack in the state
that year.
Yeah, it scored. Yeah.
So I
in the perfect category.
Yeah,
I see that is incredible. I'm pending. It was up here as well because that is where a lot of those food plots and those. That's where you get those genetics and those.
So I get up to the deer. I could have cared less about the rack. I kept looking at Dad, going, "Is it going to go over 200?" And he's looking at me, going, "Who cares?" He's like,
"Yeah." I said, "Yeah, I don't know if it'll go over 200, Paul, but you'll never shoot another deer with that big of a rack on it."
And of course,
I shouldn't say never, but
no. Of course, being an arrogant 15-year-old, you're like, "I'm going to shoot a bigger one next year."
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Yeah, it'll be tough to beat that. It'll. Yeah. I mean,
that was a big rack.
Yeah. Yeah. But
he said, Dad looked at me. He goes, "You'll probably shoot bigger body deer, but you'll never shoot a."
And you did
bigger rack.
Yeah,
deer.
you've shot bigger body deer, but you
never shot a.
That's still the biggest rack.
Yeah.
You're 40. You'll be 43 here in a month. So,
Nope.
Yeah. I'd love to see, Rob, to switch gears here a little bit. I'd love to see your father must have an awesome trophy room. He shot a lot of big deer.
He shot
your
some big
dad.
deer.
It's called his house.
Yeah.
That's his,
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere. Yeah, it's quite the decor. There were, unfortunately, I think the biggest one he'd ever shot burnt up with the old shop when that was. Yeah, he had that above his desk in that office, so that one went up there. But no, he's got lots at his house. Lots of black
He
bear.
has shot a lot of big deer. Your dad has, so yeah, that would be interesting to see his display. He's had a lot mounted.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So how many mounts would he have in his?
Mark, I'd butcher it if I were to. I would say at least 20.
Yeah.
At least,
No
but I don't want to call it because he's got them stashed and hidden and all over the place.
Yeah. And like you say, lost some in the fire and stuff. And,
I think the last one he did that I paid attention to that I had some reverence was my brother's moose. He got a very, very nice bull moose in 2013, and he used my grandfather, Grampy Richard. Grampy Richard had only got one bull moose tag in his entire life. And I think he was 63 or 64 when he got it. And he bought specifically a Remington 8mm Magnum 700, Remington 700, rare, cool piece just for that hunt.
Yeah.
And when my brother used that rifle to hunt that moose, that was cool. Then he had that one mounted and at Dad's house. Moose mounts are horrendously inconvenient.
Yeah, they are.
My gosh.
Yeah. We've never done one for that reason, Rob. I mean, trying to find a place to put it, in a small house or a small camp.
So in 2016, my bull was 846 pounds, and I got a European mount, and that is cumbersome as it is. I mean, geez, I bet it weighs 40, 50 pounds, just that. It's unbelievable.
A moose,
cool,
a shoulder mount moose is, it takes up a lot of room.
Yep.
So. And probably costs a lot of money now too. I don't know what they charge for that.
It's an art. It's like all things nowadays. All the arts are costing a little.
I know
more.
deer head's pushing $1,000.
Yep.
Yeah.
$800,000.
I've been spoiled with that as far as the work done locally for me through Barry. He's done everything I've had done. He does very, very good work.
That's good. Yeah. So a little shout out to Barry.
Absolutely.
Barry
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because back in the day, it was a couple $100, $300.
Yep. So did you have a mentor of sorts or anybody?
No, I had some friends that were in the same boat that I was. And they had a passion for the outdoors, for deer hunting and fishing and all things outdoors. And we'd just go. We'd just learn on our own, read a lot.
Yep.
There were no videos back in that day. It was all reading. sports afield, outdoor life, that type of thing.
Yeah, a good friend of mine, Jody Bollier, had once told me years ago that you were the smartest hunter he'd ever hunted with. He actually told me that. That resonated with me quite a bit, Mark.
Yeah, Jody's a good guy. Jody's a lot of fun. He's a good guy to have around deer.
He knows his business.
He does. Jody's a really good. Jody's one of those guys, if you're ever up against something, you could always count on him and stuff.
He'll get you out of a pickle.
He'll get you out of a pickle.
He might get you in a pickle, but he'll get you out of it.
Yeah.
He's always been incredible with me. I've always looked up to him quite a bit.
Yeah, we shared a lot of deer camps with Jody, and he was one of the best guys you could ever have around deer camp.
Geez, I've seen all kinds of photos and videos of him with wild birds eating out of his mouth and all kinds of things.
Gorbies.
And and Jody's funny. He's a good guy to have around camp.
Yeah.
He
is he's a storyteller.
Do you guys still do that? Get everyone together, the family together?
No, we haven't. When the deer herd, like I say, we had some bad winters, 2 of them back to back in the 2007 to like 2010, Robbie, and it really decimated the deer herd out in the big woods, out in the industrial forest.
Well, I guess I kind of feel like a fool. I wasn't aware of this, and it's kind of alarming.
We had a year there where we had 200 inches of snow, and it wiped out the deer herd.
And you could easily tell just from hunting from year to year that it was a significant difference.
Remember the one year you came back, the last day at camp, you were hunting down along the Allagash. Yeah. And you came back to camp with 5 jawbones in his pocket.
Yeah, they
just dead deer all along.
I went into a deer yard to hunt, and along a river, the Allagash River, and man, there were dead deer everywhere that had died from the previous winter. So this would have been November that I was in there, and all these deer had died in the previous winter. And
based on what you saw, starvation or predation?
Starvation. Because you would find the entire deer
all intact.
All intact. Predation, they would spread the bone, they'd tear it apart. You'd find very few bones in one spot. You'd find the hair was still there. And all the bones were still there, the carcass and stuff.
So then, as a student of the coyote, I have to ask, how much of that do you guys see out there? How many coyotes?
Oh, coyotes do a lot of damage.
Because what was it a couple of years ago? The Maine wildlife biologist did a huge seminar with Maine and New Hampshire with the behaviors and the patterns of coyotes and the growth, and they claim that up to 30 to 40% whitetail fawns are lost. To coyotes. Yeah. And just with you guys in your woods experience, just curious if you've ever seen anything to back up that evidence.
They do a lot of damage not only to the fawns when they're dropping them, and bear do a lot at that time of year when they're in May and June, but coyotes really do the most damage, Robbie, in the wintertime on adult deer. When the snow gets 4 or 5 feet deep, the deer don't stand a chance with the coyote. Mm-hmm. You get a little crust on the snow and the deer break through, but the coyote can run right over the top.
Right along. Yep.
Yeah.
Which we've been lucky this year. But
last year and this year.
I see there's 2 big storms coming, I think, this week.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, up around 12 inches, both of them.
Yeah.
So
But
do you think it's too late in the year for it to have a significant impact on next year's productivity?
Robbie, you're probably right. It's probably... Yeah, it's when you get the snow early in November and December, and they have to wallow through that snow for
all year
basically
long.
3 months or 4 months, December, January, February, and March, so the March being the critical month. They've expended a lot of energy, but they haven't done that this year. They can go anywhere they want. So they're in good shape right now. So even if the snow gets deep, and if it got deep and crusty in March, I mean, you could lose some to coyotes, but the losses wouldn't be as bad as if you had snow through the season.
What do they say? They can probably sleep it off.
They can probably lay down and sleep it off. Yeah. They'd have energy enough, fat enough to...
Because, I mean, we're in the shortest month of winter right now, and then you got March. And March can be rough, snow-wise, but things are warming up come March. And even right now, the sun has a different intensity.
So we're in good shape. Even if we do get a lot of snow between now and April, I think we're in good shape.
Do you think this year's high yield count is due to recovering from the what did you say, 2007, 2008 winters? And this is just like a accumulation of the years?
Yeah.
Or do you think there was anything else?
No, I think it's just that, Robbie. I think it's just the fact that we're on the northern edge of deer territory. You go 100 miles north of northern Maine, there are no white-tailed deer. This is as far north as a deer can live. So you get up to the St. Lawrence, you go 100 miles north of here, and there are no white-tailed deer. And so winter plays a critical part in that, and you will see the fluctuations and always have in the deer herd with the severity of the winters.
I guess I never I did not know that, and I didn't understand in knowing that how big of a significance that would have, because if we are the threshold as far as
we're on the northern edge
what they can
of the,
withstand, then I guess it would be the biggest indicator to population.
It is the biggest impactor of population. The winter severity is a big thing, and back 60 years ago, it was less of a thing, Robbie, because we had better deer yards. The cutting has removed a lot of the deer yards. Plus, we had no coyotes 60 years ago. There were no coyotes up here. Coyote is I'll say within the last 60, 70 years, there was no really apex predator up here for deer.
So I knew they come from the west.
They did.
Yeah.
They're part wolf. They're not just coyote. There's a certain, what'd you say, Paul, 10 to 25% wolf DNA?
We say probably 17% and around there.
Yeah.
Well, they even label it now as coy wolves. And if you get within a weight threshold,
some of them are big.
Yep.
Man, they're huge.
So those two factors, you know, back in the 50s and 60s, the big woods, that's where most of the deer were shot, up in the big woods west of Ashland and stuff. And we would shoot, over, I don't know, maybe 40,000 deer a year in the best years. But then, like I say, the introduction of the coyote and wood harvesting, the deer yards were harvested pretty hard in the 70s and 80s, and the deer population dropped off. It's easy to tell, Robbie. The state puts out deer kill per township. Mm-hmm. I think Fort Fairfield last year, we're a double township, but we shot 37 deer. And you go out west of the Route 11 up in the big woods, and there's a lot of townships that have 0 deer shot in them all season. 0. A lot.
Yeah.
That's quite incredible.
Yeah.
Really, I didn't understand just how far on the threshold we were as far as whitetail go.
Yeah. The numbers I always heard, about 100, maybe give or take, but about 100 miles north of here, that's where the end of the whitetail.
Well, it makes perfect sense, because as far as black bear, you see a lot of black bear businesses, guiding services, things, Plaster Rock North, stuff like that, but not a lot of deer ones, so that's why.
Yeah. So people stopped going up where we hunt, up in the North Maine woods. Used to be real popular with out-of-staters, but they stopped going in around 2008 and 9 in that area. It just wasn't worth it to come up here, spend a week, and not see any deer up there.
Yep.
Spend a bunch of money and time. And
a couple of years ago, I asked an experienced gentleman about going up there. I said, I'd like to learn more. I'd like to go up. I want to wet my feet in that dynamic of hunting.
Yeah.
I said, well, what's it like? Am I going to go up there and just there's going to be deer hopping field to field and nothing like? He said, Robbie, you're going to go up there and you're not going to see a deer. And you're going to come back and you're going to ask
discouraged.
me,
it's like a desert.
Yeah.
A deer desert. It can be very discouraging, Robbie, because, and basically the state would have numbers. They would say, and I don't know if it's gone up in the last few years, but it used to be 1 to 2 deer per square mile. So in a square mile of territory, you might have the population was 1 to 2 deer in that square mile. Yeah. So,
is there anything in your opinion that could change that? Because like
easy winners.
Well, besides because everything that when it comes to it's usually hunters, conservationists that end up being the ones who put forth
you're right.
the changes.
They do all the work.
What would have to be done, or what could be done to salvage that?
And see, that's the thing. You can't do anything about winter. Winter is what it is.
Correct.
Protecting deer yards, they've tried to do that, and they're doing it right now. They're buying areas, deer yards and stuff. That's one of the things you could do. Coyote, predator control, coyotes. That's a lot easier to do around here than it is up in the big woods. There's nobody out there to hunt them.
Absolutely.
There's people around here, like Kendall right out back here, that he's But up in the big woods, there's nobody there with a gun to hunt them. So, yeah, those, that predation control, that's the thing, coyote control. And they've kind of hampered us in that area. They used to snare them. Mm-hmm. They used to go into the deer yards and snare coyotes, but they put an end to that because of the lynx. The lynx were a protected species, and so.
Yeah, my father and brother used to trap. Yeah, I still remember them going out in wintertime in snow sleds, checking the traps.
Snaring was a big thing back in the day, and now that, and you'll never get rid of the coyotes. So the best you can hope for is to control the numbers a little bit,
It's kind of baffling, Mark, with my limited experience of a couple good years of night hunting. There was a couple fields that for some local farmers and one beef farmer, where I was actually one of them following Jody Bollier's footsteps. He had already had a cabin and everything set up there, and I just kind of followed suit. And if I were to get the predominant family out of there, find the kits or the pups and the two, within a week, there'd be either another pack or another one in there howling. And every area.
And they reproduce so fast too, Robbie. Yeah. So you take those out, and the next year one moves in, and they can have a pack of 6 or 7 pups, and I mean they have transients within they'll have pups that are quite literally born to travel and absolutely.
Find an
Wow, they're not going to live in the same area they're born. They're like any animal; they want to disperse.
Yep.
They don't want to interbreed and everything else. So they're by nature.
Now there used to be a bounty, wasn't there? Once upon a time, I don't say a bounty, but as far as
I think there was on coyote. Yeah. Now they try to do that in the form of contests. Yeah, they'll try to have contests, a coyote contest, and you get a monetary prize if you catch the biggest coyote or the most coyotes or something. That's but.
Well, and yet again, northern Maine, for me, presents some of the weirdest challenges for night hunting, coyote hunting, thermal hunting, where we don't have a night season for fox, but we do for coyote. And you show me somebody who can differentiate at 150 yards to thermal vision, a fox and a coyote. Yeah. And I'll give them a prize. Now, night vision's a little better, but then we also have the lynx and bobcat. Thrown in the mix as well. So it really is, as far as predator hunting, the state doesn't, yes, you don't want to hurt any animal that's not legal to hunt, but they kind of got us hogtied.
We have a lot of lynx now.
Yeah, we have a lot of lynx. And there again, Robbie, the only reason, I believe anyway, that we have a night hunting season for coyote is just that, for that reason, to reduce the population to help the deer herd. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what that's for. Yep. That's what that's for, that... just another tool to try to help the deer population up here. Yep. So, those 3 things, habitat, winter habitat, winter severity, and predators, coyotes. Those are the things that have kept the deer numbers up here low. Yep. So,
Well, a good year this year. I can say that much, that this year was just absolutely bizarre.
It's going to be a good year this coming year too.
Yep.
You wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. Youth Day, I went out with my oldest son. My boys, we really just try to have fun with it. That was the biggest thing. My father was, we were hunting.
It was a little more serious?
It was game time. It was showtime. And with my boys, I'm a little more lax, a little more, what do you think's good? And my,
gotta have fun with
my youngest son pointed to a little patch of grass in the middle of a potato field, and he said, "Let's go hide in that grass." I don't know what movie he'd seen or what he thought, but I said, "Yeah, let's go out there." And this was Youth Day that evening, and we went out and sat in that grass. And 30 minutes later, an 8-pointer just comes thundering out of the woods. No rhyme or reason. There's no rhyme or reason why at that circumstance and that time he would have had to come out.
He'll never forget that.
Yeah. No. And then the following day with my next son, a doe came out, and he didn't shoot at that because it didn't look quite right. And then a buck came out. It was just, this year was just unbelievable as far as seeing the nice healthy bucks early on. Like I said, I saw more whitetail than I saw partridge in my little neck of the woods. So I'm hoping that's
it was a good
year. To put that in perspective too, Robbie. So Paul and I went up, and I think I hunted 8 days. The first 8 days that I hunted, I never saw a hare, never saw a deer. in 8 days.
Could that be a case, though, of what topographic, weather-wise works for me doesn't work for
we're in a place that you're right. The way I hunt it, you're right. I'm in the woods, so I've got to be close to a deer. And I hunted 8 days without even seeing a flag or a hare. And then I think it was the 9th day, Paul, that
you shot yours.
I shot mine.
And then
first deer I saw.
And then I saw $5 in 2 days.
Yeah, we found a good area, and Paul saw a bunch of deer in there.
Seeing bucks everywhere. It was like, what the heck?
Yeah. But no, there was good sign. We saw a sign and stuff. We knew there were deer in the area, and just a matter of time. And that's the thing. You got to keep at it,
Yeah.
So
you shot a very nice buck this year, Mark.
yeah, it was 205, which is for me.
That's glorious.
That was a nice buck.
Yeah.
8-pointer. Yeah. 205. Yeah. I was real happy with
There
it.
you were.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
They don't come very often.
Did either of you ever try any archery? Ever do that?
He did.
Yeah, I did.
Were you successful?
I can't say I never hunted. I did try right out back here just a few times, but I haven't picked up the bow in 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
When I retired, Rob, I thought that would be a good thing too, and I went traditional. I went with a
recurve.
A longbow.
Longbows.
Yeah, same thing. Recurve longbows. It's instinctive shooting and stuff, and I should get back into it. I got the bow and stuff, but one of the problems with that, especially with longbow or recurve, is as we get older, our joints aren't what they used to be, and shoulders and stuff, and you got to be pretty strong to pull a longbow back and stuff. And
especially in northern Maine when it's
cold,
19 degrees.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
The reason I asked that is as more of a student than anything, I really invested 3 solid years of archery only in my life, and never have I learned so much and been so unproductive in my entire. I came to the conclusion that northern Maine is just not
the place to do it.
Not the place to do it. Either I was sitting on a line fence on a tree stand, completely frozen stiff, watching deer walk 100 yards, 150 yards away, just waiting, or you're trying to walk. You can't navigate the woods. I couldn't navigate the woods with it.
And you were compound? You tried?
Yes. That was with compound.
Yeah. You're not going to make any 540-yard shots with the compound bow. So
no,
it is a very tough way to hunt. But there are some people who do it up here and are successful. And
hats off to them, honestly.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
a whole other level.
Hats off to them. Not being able to bait, that's a big thing. You got every other state they can, I say every other and they, but most of them.
A lot of places you can.
I mean, think about it. You're at the other end of the extreme with you. You're 500 yards away. Now you're trying to get a deer
within 40 yards.
Yeah. And hit it with a pointy stick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hope to.
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people shoot for from 40 yards in or whatever, Yeah, so some people may a little longer than that, but.
Wasn't like the hunting shows for me whatsoever.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. I know some guys that have like leases out in Ohio.
Yep.
We'll do some bow hunting out there. And he's from Maine and his heart's hunting in Maine.
Yeah.
And he just shakes his head. He's like, man, I could shoot big bucks all day long at 100 yards. He goes, but to get them within bow distance.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I spilled over into my shooting from bows is shoot twice as far, practice twice as far as
exactly.
as I actually want to harvest game. And that has, it's worked out well. So
yeah, you see, and that even shrinks a lot when you get into compound and, longbow and recurves. You got to get a lot closer than, 40 yards would be a long shot with a recurve.
Yep.
For most people anyway.
Yeah.
One other question, Robbie, or actually I got a few other questions. Did you know the guy that came down into the first spot you were at?
Yes, I did.
You knew the guy. Was he local? Obviously, probably was local.
Yeah. He's a local bear guide. Just a stand-up gentleman.
That was very good of you. I didn't realize. I thought maybe he was there first, but you were there first, and you
on that day. I think he'd hunted there as well. He had he'd gone above and beyond and had a permission slip as well.
Yeah.
No, it was a really healthy, good conversation. And
do you know if you got a deer that night or?
I do not.
Okay.
I do not. He did when he found out about mine, gave me sent a message and said, congratulations. He's the landowner did. Like it really just a cool, awesome, humbling experience all the way around.
Yeah. So that whole story, it was a good demonstration of just
selflessness.
Yeah. And not getting discouraged
selfless
about a situation, and moving on to, and it just goes to show you never know when it's going to be paid forward.
Right.
Like, right?
I certainly felt that way, Paul. I'll tell you, that was kind of the bizarreness of all of it. It really is.
Yeah.
And everything about it was really platonic, and it was a good conversation and moving forward. But it really is. It was no stress. And then how it all kind of worked out, you can't help but wonder.
You look back and you're like, man.
A little bit of a karma buck in a way. I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get blessed with a giant.
Yeah.
And
but on the other side of that coin, I've had nothing but great luck. I don't know if I either buck the trend or if this is the normal for other hunters up here, but I've always got permission slips. I've always, made my presence known in places I was hunting, and I have a lifetime of nothing but positive hunting experiences on public land. I've
most
never
times,
had a bad experience.
Yeah, most times when you run into someone up in the woods, like whenever we run into people up in the woods, it's usually very like-minded people, and you end up just forging really good relationships with people. Like I was talking with some guys this weekend, and they're sending me pins on Onyx, different places to go fish. Like that doesn't happen,
right?
And other
giving up their secret spots,
just
stuff.
freely. Yeah. I'm not asking.
No, that's awesome.
And
That's just being a good sportsman.
Super generous, like just offering stuff.
Yeah.
And I do the same thing. I know, like on here, I don't want to say I'm secretive, but I try to keep things, not give away details. And it's not so much because I'm trying to be secretive, but that might be someone else's hot spot.
Yep.
Right. Or someone else might have shown me that spot, and I don't need to be getting on a video saying, hey, this is the place to go.
Right.
And then someone I don't even know, that's their favorite spot too.
Yep.
I've now spoiled it for them. And then people that have shared stuff with me,
and
I'm not doing them.
A lot of people do invest a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of money.
Yep.
So you kind of have to go into every conversation prepared for that and to respect them.
Yeah.
But.
So I have no problem sharing stuff with people. I just don't get on social media and tell everybody, this is where, because people will ask, like, why are you so secretive? And I'm like, I just out of respect for other people.
Yeah, because Paul, you think about us, we don't have any great spots.
No. And literally they'll be like, where do you hunt? And I give them like this huge area. They think I'm being like a wise Alec. And I'm
anywhere.
like,
bring up Google Maps. And
that really is where I could end up in zone 4 one day. I could end up in zone 3. I could end up in zone 5.
It's kind of the beauty of it though. It really is.
Yeah, it's like, sometimes it's wherever I get the itch. And what the weather's like.
Yep.
Maybe we get snow over in western side of things, and I want to go hunt on snow. I'm going that way.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, how many times we go out hunting, bail out of the truck before we even get to our hunting where we're going?
Yeah.
There's a nice buck track.
Yeah.
I'll see you.
Pick me up on your way back.
On your way back. We'll see you this evening.
Yeah.
And you'll just spend the entire day on that.
Just take off.
Yeah.
We've told the story.
You don't even have a truck there. The people that dropped you off may be 20 miles away, Robbie. So you're out on your own.
You better like your own company.
You better like
your
awesome. Yeah.
That is awesome.
And then you can we could tell you some stories on that too. That then you come out at night and you come out to the road and you wait for somebody to pick you up on their way back to camp.
Hopefully they like you.
Yeah.
That was like one of our friends at Dean.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
They were heading over to a spot. Of course, they're all piled into one truck. Saw a nice buck track. He's like, drop me off here, pick me up on your way back by when you're done hunting this evening.
Yeah.
He shot a buck. Didn't have a knife on him. Derek had his knife, right?
Yeah, he didn't have a knife.
He made it all the way out to the road just to look down the road to see the taillights going back to camp. Ran all the way back to camp.
And that was a long way.
Yep.
I don't want to say it was 10 miles, but it was a long way. It was a long way back to camp.
I think it was 5 miles.
And there's no
don't quote me on it.
Houses or paved roads. I mean, this is out in the middle of nowhere, and he's just running back to camp down the logging road to get because he didn't have a knife and stuff.
So how do you get it? How do you get it? So you get a nice buck in the middle of the wood. Do you quarter it right there? Do you?
Nope. We drag him out whole.
Drag him out.
Yeah, usually go get help. Or Paul. Paul does mine now.
I'm going to remember that. No matter what, where I shoot my next buck, I'm just going to...
There was one time, I remember, I was tracking the buck. I had shot at it. We knew where it was going, and Dad had circled around to try to get in position to see if he could... And I got up into a bunch of winter beech, those little beech trees with leaves all over them. That was so loud. I jumped the buck up. He was running. I shot at him. Missed him. Dad shot him.
Yeah.
No way.
Heads down into the woods. Here I am. I'm gutting Dad's deer out. And then I'm dragging his deer out. I said, how does this rate? I tracked him. And then I get to gut him and I get to drag him out.
He pushed him out to me. I was out on a road because I kind of knew where those deer like to cross. And so he went in the woods tracking the deer, and I went up to where I thought it might cross. And it did. It crossed there, and I shot it. But it ran down in the woods before we finished it off. Yeah, so Paul cleaned it out and drug it out for me.
Good for something.
Your boys will be doing that for you sometime, Robbie, down the road.
I look forward to it because at the moment, right now, let me tell you, it gets a little overbearing sometimes with these kids. Everybody wants to go. Thank God my wife hunts, honestly, because I can't, between three boys, my time is quite skewed. I was happy this year happened like it did because like next year, I think I'll be the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll go camping or whatever, and you ought to see the pickup. 3 kids, wife and a dog.
Yeah.
And you never sit down. It's constantly, I'm hungry, Dad. I got water in my shoe. I fell down. I want a snack. Yeah. You're like, holy cow.
So some of them, my whole life, so the greatest stories that have come from hunting with the kids and having their own twist on things and having fun with it. And it's really,
especially getting to see all their firsts. Yeah. First deer, first bird, all that stuff is
Now, Robbie,
super awesome.
Now, we talked about your grandfather, Richard, and stuff. I don't remember him was he a serious hunter, Robbie? Did he hunt deer quite a bit? Or
I want to say no.
That's what I'm thinking.
For the time I was alive and around him, I think it was very recreational for him. If I think it would take a whitetail just about walking out in front of him.
See, that's the way my dad was.
Yeah. Because it's just other interest. Other interest. Motorcycles.
Not that they didn't do it or whatever, but they just they didn't put the effort in it to try to really kill a deer. So you went with your dad quite a bit, is it?
I did as a very young man. My teenage years I took off and we branched and kind of went our own ways as far as that goes. But as a young man, that's the half hour after morning and the last half hour before dark.
Now, how about your brother Brock? Is he a deer hunter?
Yes.
He is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's better than I am. He said so.
Well, it's not about being good. You mean he's more passionate than you are?
Natural shot.
Okay.
Natural shot.
Okay.
It's always Mark frustrated me beyond all and how much I have to practice and work and stay fluent where there's so many others that are.
Doesn't that bother you when somebody picks it up so easy sometimes and you have to dig and claw to keep up or whatever, and it comes easy to some other person?
I'm telling you, it's real quick anecdote just to shame myself. Last summer we're target shooting at the house with a few friends from work, zeroing some rifles for hunting season. Brandon Tuck, who graduated with me.
I know Brandon.
Brandon shoots his rifle, his father's old rifle, Savage 110 chambered in 7mm Magnum. The gun's probably taken 60 legal large game species. Legal. And we're shooting, talking and everything and shooting clay pigeons. And we discovered Brandon could shoot clay pigeons flying through the air with a 7mm Magnum.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And amidst all the accolades, I just sit in seething envy of, man, I'd be 2 years sitting here practicing. I'd have to really
trying to hit one,
trying to just even be getting one. And there he would think 3 out of 5 with a 7mm Magnum. And just certain people.
God.
Can you boys outshoot your dad?
My father?
Yeah.
Man, his eyes.
Your dad's a good shot.
He's better than I am. His eyes are getting older though, so I don't know.
That's part of the.
My wife, she's the dangerous one.
Yeah.
It is absolutely impressive what you could just set down for a target in front of her, and it all comes down to flinch. Who can, and
don't cross her.
Yeah,
like I said, she's out of my league. She just hasn't figured it out yet. No.
Well, that's good.
What do you say?
Yeah, we've rambled for quite a while.
Rob, we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, I'm truly humbled.
Congratulations on the big buck.
Truly humbled. I'm in love with what you guys are doing here.
Oh,
yeah, for sure. Congratulations, Robbie.
Thank you so much.
So it's going to be a tough act to follow.
It is.
That
Number one in the state is going to be very
mic drop retirement. Right there.
I'm done deer hunting.
Yeah,
that'll be a tough act to follow, but you'll enjoy hunting anyway. We don't always go out to try to shoot the biggest deer, obviously.
No, and everybody who knows me well, that's like for my very, very small circle, that they all chuckled just like I did because I'm not picky. I'm not.
Yeah.
It's all about
neither
time
am I,
management.
Robbie.
It's about, hey, let's go harvest
Worked
the
out.
deer so we can get the kids out in the field.
Yeah,
And,
worked out.
yep.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Is that all she wrote?
I think that's long enough.
I guess until next time, get outside.
It's good for the soul.
See ya.